and welcome to Mystery Us. I'm your host for Mystery Us, Tony Pratt, and we have some very fascinating guests on the program today. Cosplayers Crystal, Ravyn, and Greg Jones. Welcome to Mystery Us, guys.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Thank you.
Now, let's start out by defining what is cosplay.
Cosplay is, the putting on of a costume to be somebody that you imagine yourself to be, whether that's Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman, or, in our case, characters of our own making. It's the ultimate form of escapism.
How did you get involved with this, Greg?
Honestly, it's always been an interest to me ever since I was just a teenager anyway. Back in the 80s, the Dungeons and Dragons. Getting away, imagine you were an adventurer or somebody else. Totally. Older I got, some things go away, but it always stuck around, just wanting to get away. And then honestly, in today's world, very hectic world, you need an escape. And some years back, about 10 years back or so, my brother was already living in Atlanta, Georgia, in the area. I started going down. Finally had the opportunity to go down to Dragon Con, which was the ultimate sci-fi fantasy convention, and it kind of went on from there, and started seeing more or less what was called steampunk. But had second thoughts about it at first, like what was this? But the more I started to see it, I got into it. Never really participated as much. I was very, very interested. I just never took the opportunity to do it. About 3.5 years ago, once I married my wife, I introduced her to it, and that was pretty much it. We started out with a little bit, and we've come a very long way, really. And it's just been phenomenal. It's been fun.
Now, is the steampunk, is that generally the Victorian era?
That is correct. Although there are a lot of different applications, there's different subgenres. It's a cosplay and a whole lifestyle thing. Started out in the 1980s, very, very small, has steadily grown to where it's almost mainstream today. You can go a lot of different places, find Victorian elements in ladies' fashion, gentlemen's fashion, home decor. It's really made a comeback. It's a romantic reimagining of what the 19th century might have been like had we had certain modern conveniences of the 21st century.
I'll take example, even my watch bracelet. A very good friend of ours had it custom. I had a nice watch. The strap
tilted a little bit forward.
The strap went bad on it, but I wanted something more interesting to go with it because I liked the coppery brass, and just the darker colors, which was very steampunkish in a way. And I wanted something that was going to be much more flashy to a sense. Maybe flashy is such a bad word for it, but I wanted something that was going to be stand out.
Yeah.
And with having a nice watch, we had a friend of ours with Skyboard Productions.
Starboard Sky.
Starboard Sky. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Who creates his own leatherworking. I had him do this, and it just goes with the whole ensemble of things.
All right. Well, tell me about your characters of your own creation, as you say.
My name's Captain Zenia Topflyte. I'm the commander of the IAS Abraxas. I'm also the pilot to this guy over here would be Dr. Edward Dirigible.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, I've employed her. My family has a long history in the dirigible business. Actually, we created and developed the dirigibles.
Hence the name.
Hence the name of the dirigibles that we have nowadays. So I just really have developed an interest in many other areas of scientific nature. As you can see, botany, animal life, zoology. I've created many different things. Have been an avid student of Nikola Tesla himself. I've taken many of that, much of that technology and have advanced it, and been able to enhance my good captain's ship in order to give us the ability for interdimensional travel.
How do you power the ship?
It's powered on crystal technology. Crystals all vibrate. They all each have their own different vibration. Well, with certain crystals that are available, they can actually vibrate an object enough to move it from one plane of reality to the other. And in this case, it happens to be my ship and everything aboard it.
Kind of similar to the Atlantean crystal airships
Absolutely.
that they had, yeah.
Yeah, there's a reason why, people appear and disappear at random in this world you all call Earth. Ours is Earth. There's a reason why we all got some interesting legends, this, that, and the other thing. See, we can go backwards in time because it's already happened, and we can check who was there and what was there. We can't go forward quite so easily because we don't know exactly who was there, what's there. We could materialize inside of a block of cement, in a river, in a raging firestorm. You never know.
So
I like to be prepared.
when you go back in time, can you change things like Back to the Future, or does it create a alternate timeline that just goes off in its own direction?
It has its own ripples, from what I understand. We've never been encouraged to do a whole lot.
We do have certain governing bodies of rules where you see certain things in the Earth realm here that people tend to skirt and take advantage of some things, honestly. In our time frame, in our universe, it's a little bit more different. People tend to take a little bit more pride and respect the past. Hence, we know not to dabble with the timeline. Because I could, in a sense, affect my own future in this well. Hence, what you all may call the butterfly effect. It will change. So we take very careful, we're very careful with how we go, with what we do in the past.
And you make it really, really difficult in the process to make for an honest pirate to make a living, okay? I got a crew to pay.
I have to keep her in check. That's why my family has a vast fortune, and
why I don't? Is that what you're trying to say?
I see.
Would you like to lose your other eye?
This is what happens. Yeah. Anyway, yes, but this is why we take very careful.
So you created these characters. It wasn't ever a comic book or graphic novel type.
No, although it may be at some point in time. I've wanted to write stories about these characters for a long time now, and now that I'm going to have a bit more leisure time, I hope to be able to do so. I'm torn between making this an actual novel and working with a comic book artist to make it a graphic novel. It's worked out well for one of my favorite authors, Laurel K. Hamilton. A lot of her work has been turned into graphic novels and been very successful. And with novels not being quite the popular medium that they were back in our day, I'm thinking that would be a wonderful way to tell the story. And there's a lot that could be told.
Good.
And aside from the costumes, the props and gadgets and gizmos that you create them, right?
I do.
They're very important to the whole thing, right?
Absolutely. No steampunk is really truly complete without at least a few gadgets. Everything from weapons of, self-defense to, the things we carry our little things about, the way we communicate, and If I can get the silly thing open.
Now that communication device, that's what, a ancient cell phone, or what is it?
That's what we call our cellular distance communication device. Let me see. By the way, that's the Abraxas.
Let me zoom in. And what does it do?
This is my airship. This is my love. This is my life, or my character's love and life.
Yeah.
You know, it also has the ship's motto in there, which my Latin is really, really awful, but the way it translates out is "in search of the ultimate unknown secret," which is what he's after. His character is after. He wants to know everything about everything, or as much as he can learn before it's his time to go.
Mm-hmm.
And through happy happenstance, he happened to hire a notorious pirate, somebody who wasn't afraid of going to places that were forbidden or where nice people don't go, somebody who's not afraid of adventure, as a personal pilot, in exchange for keeping her ship going, in exchange for helping her out on a couple of things which will be discussed in later novels. She's agreed to help him.
So do you ever do like scenes of cosplay? Is it always spontaneous? You're just in character and you just ad lib, or is there ever scripted?
We have certain things that are pretty well common to the characters. He's a little stiff under the collar and more concerned about learning things than he is about social nicety occasionally. He doesn't have a problem, you know, going in where angels fear to tread, we shall say. Captain Zenia, she tends to be pretty brash. She tends to be pretty loud and a little obnoxious. And her first thing, last thing, and middle thing in between is shoot it dead.
It's almost...
That sounds like a fun character.
It is. It's almost like a female version, steampunk female version, and if I may, of a Han Solo. To some degree.
With a much fouler mouth and a much itchier trigger.
Indeed, yes. See, even with her friends, since my eye. No.
I'm sure you guys saw the last Star Wars flick, right?
Yes.
What did you think about that?
I was very impressed. Having been around since the very first Star Wars movie, I was 6 years old when it came out, and I've been fascinated with science fiction ever since. I was really impressed at the way they decided to treat the story. Yes, it's kind of coming back around full circle, you know, because a lot of the criticisms that I have heard and that I have read is that it's a reflection of the original Star Wars, Episode 4, A New Hope, whatever one wants to call it. There is that, but there's also the sense of coming home. And yes, even hard-bitten Captain Zenia cried when Han Solo died.
So do you guys ever have a problem, and I know some people do, where like you just get stuck in the character and you don't return to your normal self automatically?
More than I would like to probably admit.
Wow.
I also work professionally. I'm a quality manager at a manufacturing company. And occasionally, yeah, my first instinct is to stomp it down hard, you know, we're not putting up with this, and then I have to pull myself back to reality and remember I'm a little bit of Captain Zenia all the time. Yes, I'm also me, and that's a good, you know, being Captain Zenia at my office would probably be a good way to become an unemployed Captain Zenia.
So you gotta watch out for too much bleed over.
We find sometimes too, even last night or the night before, we were talking to our neighbors. It was very humorous. We were talking to neighbors, and she just threw the proverbial accent like you heard Captain Zenia here. She said something to our neighbor on as we were leaving. I turned to her. I said, "Okay, there, Captain." You know, it's like what? She looked at me like, "What?" I was like, "You didn't even catch it, but you just that last little bit, like it was just like see you later or something." And I'm like, Wow. Okay. But so we get into our. Well, sometimes we get into our.
Are the ones that you're pretty much like already. They're already inside you. All it takes is a little encouragement for that to come out. As long as the character you're playing isn't, say, Jack the Ripper.
I mean, this is just a couple of the personas that we have. Our other characters are satyrs, and if no one knows what a satyr is if you look upon Greek mythology, the Greek god Pan is a satyr, half man, half goat.
Right.
And so, even with that, I started off with that as one of my first cosplay costumes and characters. I actually was able to. I convinced her to take a satyrs.
Yeah,
Faunus, I should say.
Yeah, in mythology, there's actually not any female satyrs, so I had to create one out of whole cloth.
Yeah.
I mean, we actually play a married couple of satyrs.
And she'll sit there and braid me, and she'll go. we'll go. She'll go. I go, and she'll go back and start trying to and like, just like But it's very humorous. We do it a lot of that at the. Actually, we're very big. We're not even part of the cast, but and she's trying to shoot me. But we actually go down there, and we've been told, and we've actually been tipped down at the Tennessee Rent Fair. Yeah, and just because people will come up and want to get pictures with us, thinking that we're part of the show. Are you part? No, but they'll take pictures of us and they'll tip us anyway because. They'll say these are some of the best characters they see down there, and we go and we do it for fun.
Yeah,
we enjoy it. It is part of us. Is who we are. It is, as we said, our escape.
Right. It's great that you have something that you can do together that you enjoy. That
oh yes.
Yeah. We have a lot of fun with it. I mean, occasionally we have our failures and our issues. We decided to pay homage to the gods of Egypt. Early this year at a convention in Lexington, and didn't have a lot of time to pull the costumes together. He did Anubis, I did the Cat Goddess Bast. Mine went okay, but a couple of things I didn't take into account were the sash on his costume. We had to walk 3 blocks to get to the venue. He hadn't made it a block before the thing fell off.
We had we had to make 2 adjustments just on the walk with the sash.
And eventually we had to go ahead and just, retire early and change back into street clothes and take the makeup off and all that because it was just getting to be too hard to keep it together. So we do have our oopses.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. And depending upon what we may test out on a short run is okay. The mask itself, if the makeup or prosthetics that we use take away from the vision, that could be an issue as well too. So we've learned a lot, just like anybody would start learning any hobby, any new trade, anything. You have to test it out thoroughly, and even with that,
especially costume stuff.
And it's vitally important because if your vision is impaired, he's fallen down steps.
Yeah.
He almost accidentally impaled somebody with a prop during his time dressed up as Anubis because the mask so completely cut off his peripheral vision, and the staff he was carrying had some sharp ends on it, which we ended up taking off right then and there because it just wasn't worth beating somebody in the head over.
Yeah, I mean, it was very. I even almost poked myself, so I was like, no, these aren't going to work. So we live and we learn. We learn what is right to do.
But sometimes we learn on the fly.
Yeah.
And what are the steampunk cosplay organizations that you can join?
We belong to 2 of them. There's the Music City Steampunk Consortium, which is based in Nashville. They have a lovely Facebook page. Please go check them out. And there's also a new branch of that in Clarksville. So it has its own page known as the Clarksville Steampunk Symposium, run by some really great people. They do a lot of events. They're asked to do a lot of discussion panels at the various conventions. Basically, several of us go up. We either, talk about, what steampunk is, demonstrate, how a lot of this stuff goes together, demonstrate, what, can be done and what maybe shouldn't be done.
And it's all found art, right? And you sell the stuff, right?
That is exactly it.
Actually, most is. A lot of it is.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people, of course, they make their own art.
Yeah.
We're actually more of a collective of artists than we are anything else. I mean, I don't know how everybody does it. How we do it is what we call found object art. Everything that you see right here is a common, ordinary, everyday object put together just so and painted just so to make it look old and vintage. That's a candlestick.
Yeah, it looks like a gun. It looks like some kind of...
These here are deer whistles, like what you buy at Walmart to put on your car to warn wildlife. That's a shoehorn. This is the bracket to the shoehorn. And this here, that's probably the funniest one. That is actually the pull tab off of my printer cartridge from my office.
And with what I do at work, we won't say that I don't see anything I do, but certain things that we find, flywheels off of old angle grinders.
And your Facebook page where you show all this stuff is Saturday Productions?
Saturday Productions, yes.
Okay.
We have a Facebook page. You can communicate with us on there. You can ask about custom work there, or just, enjoy some of the silly photos and occasional videos that we put up. We try to get photos and videos every time that we go to a convention or to any sort of a cosplay event. We've competed in several cosplay contests. We've actually done well in a couple of them.
We actually won Hypericon first place for most original characters.
Absolutely, that one was really great. Best in show. That the fellow that won that one, I shook his hand and told him he definitely deserved it, because 10 times the work that he did went into what, 10 times as much work as what went into this went into his costume. But the most original, that meant a lot to us.
Yeah.
Really, honestly.
What's the wildest costume? I know some of these things are getting just like gargantuan. I saw a Black Widow where it's like the 20 feet tall, with the long legs, and the girl sitting up there on a thing. How do you get that to the show?
You have to have a truck,
Yeah.
or probably more like a couple of them. We've got one planned a little bit like that. We've not built it yet, because quite honestly, we don't have a vehicle large enough to transport it when it's done. We have a centaur costume in mind, a real working one. Steps would still be a problem unless you could actually put animatronics on all 4 legs and make them operate independently, which that's a bit more wiring than what I know how to do at this point in time. I need a little more study.
You're creating an animatronic centaur?
We've got the plans for it.
Yeah.
That one is going to be a work in progress for quite some time, because to do it right is probably going to take a couple of years worth of work.
Maybe. And not only that, you're gonna. And of course, it's like anything. It's a funds issue to some
Sure,
degree.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You're gonna have, because in that case, and along with anything you brought up earlier about people taking these really large pieces that they've created in part of the costumes, they actually have to have trailers, horse trailers, pickups to actually pull and to bring the items along with.
We saw one year before last at Dragon Con, I'm pretty sure, needed a semi to bring it in. It was a full-size animatronic dragon.
Right. Yeah, I mean it probably, if you just stuck it in this room, it probably in this particular room, it would have taken up at least wingspan and everything would have gone from wall to wall.
It was an awesome piece, and I was very, very, very happy to get to be up close with it.
What's the wildest, most far out costume you've seen?
Oh, heavens to Betsy.
There's so many.
Lady Godiva.
I actually thought about doing that one many, many years ago. The person I was married to at the time absolutely forbade it, of course. But
I mean, probably a lot of some of the more Wilder, or haven't seen it, Dragon Con, probably with groups like Netherworld.
Yes,
Netherworld. Great group of people with cosplay. I mean, of course, it's very, very dark, very, very, very gothic and dark.
It is.
But
it's not for everybody.
It's not. No, it's not. But it's some of the wilder things that you see, and the amount of work that goes into those. What you see here is novice. I mean, we do well for what we do. It's novice compared to what they do. I mean, these are people that have actually gone to school.
Oh yes.
And have made a clear lifelong, and that's what they devote to it. It's almost like going to a haunted house where they plan almost 2 years in advance for what they're going to do 2 years out. It's just a lot of it can be very graphic, but it's so well done. The effects are astonishing. We've seen people that have actually been able to make. Now they don't allow it to some degree inside buildings, but make flamethrowers part of their costume, almost like the proverbial Spider-Man. You see, you take your fingers, the web comes out.
I mean, there's nothing you can't do or find a way to contrive to at least create the illusion of it.
Right.
Now, whether or not it's going to be allowed inside the venue is something else. And every convention, is in a different spot. They all have their own rules. Some places allow absolutely no edged weapons, not real ones anyway. Ones like Captain Zenia carries would be okay because it's obviously not a sharp edge.
Right.
Real swords, real arrows, these are the things that are not encouraged. Flame, smoke, any sort of pyrotechnics. While they are very impressive, and I've actually made a little bit of a study into how to do the stuff, I've not really pursued it because most of our venues are inside, and if you can't show people how awesome it is, there's really no point in building it.
Yeah, it's too dangerous. And I mean, that's why
Precisely.
they do stuff like that for Ren fairs and stuff.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And with current laws, I think, of course, you do see there is a strong police presence at a lot of these. I mean, it's to keep people safe. When you come
Absolutely
in, like Captain Zenia's, Dr. Dirigible's weapon, they would actually check it and put an orange zip tie on the trigger area around it.
So everyone knows it's a non-lethal weapon.
Yeah,
Right.
it's been, especially if you've taken it and you've painted it over the orange tip. Okay, you've taken it away from the And of course you want to see the realism, and that they understand that. So they put an orange zip tie around it to ensure. Is it real? No, but where Dr. Dirigible's weapon is not just a sensor, but a weapon itself, it has to be checked.
No, absolutely. Now, of course, there's a way to do it and a way not to do it. I've had to explain to a couple of the security gentlemen that could we maybe kind of put it here and not like here, because I've got like about 8 weeks of work in this thing.
Yeah,
and that was after work and
I want it to be seen correctly. Yeah.
And they understand it.
And they're marvelous, and they understand, and they're there to do a very important job, which is, to make sure that everybody is safe.
Of course, the crystals on there, that gun actually may have some type of effect. Well, Crystal, Ravyn, and Greg Jones, thank you so much for being our guest on Mystery Us.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having us.
Very much.
Plant that you absolutely had to dig up and brought it on the ship.
Oh,
Yeah, that's right. You got other props in there. Yeah, remember the thing ate one of my crew. And I told
he
you.
shouldn't have gotten so close.
I told you if it ate one more person on there, I was going to burn it down. And then I was going to shoot you in the other eye. A combination of Goodwill and Hobby Lobby. The cages we found at Goodwill, and the plant stuff we found at Hobby Lobby. I think I found the bird there too.
No, yeah, the Hobby Lobbies were good. the bird was at Hollywood as well too.
The mouth of the plant was really fun to paint. It started out life as a hair ornament. Every time that I opened him up to put him around my ponytail, I'm thinking, that thing looks like it just could eat somebody if it was painted right. So the first opportunity I had, I put it to prop. A lot of my stuff ends.
All right, are we ready?
I believe we are.
Okay.